Zhaojun lived during the Han Dynasty, when China stood as a great empire. 2,000 years have passed since her story, yet she was not forgotten. She became a legend, one of the 4 great beauties of China. She entered the inner court of the palace, where the emperor's concubines lived. But the emperor never saw her. Wang Zhaojun was known not only for her beauty, but for her education and talent. She mastered the game of Go. Her calligraphy and paintings were admired. And when she played the pipa, those who listened fell silent. The attention she once received ended at 15. That was the moment her fate began to change. Officials of the Han court were tasked with selecting maidens for the imperial palace, the most beautiful from across the empire. Wang Zhaojun could not go unnoticed. Her family's objections meant nothing. She was taken from her home and brought to the palace after a long journey. At first, she accepted her fate. With her beauty, her talent, her education, she believed she could become one of the emperor's consorts, his chosen women. She had no doubt. How did the emperor choose his consorts? Court painters created portraits of the palace maidens, and he simply marked the ones he liked. One day, Wang Zhaojun was brought before one of the painters. The painter's name was Mao. He was drowning in debt. For those who wanted to change their fate, there was almost nothing they wouldn't offer. Mao took bribes, painting them more beautifully in return. But Wang Zhaojun was certain of herself. She refused. She was already beautiful. She needed no painter. The artist, angered, finished his work and left. Neither of them knew this decision would change everything. When the emperor reviewed the portraits, he saw hers, marked with a dark blemish that was never hers. He dismissed her at a glance. And just like that, she was gone. For 3 to 4 years, she lived in a forgotten corner of the palace. Once admired for her beauty and talent, now lost among thousands of women, waiting to live an entire life unseen. One day, the moment came that would change Wang Zhaojun's fate once again. But this story began years earlier, in the lands of the Xiongnu, a powerful nomadic empire of the steppe. Once, the Xiongnu had forced China to pay tribute. Now, they were a shadow of what they had been. Drought, poverty, endless struggles for the throne. Nobles began to flee, seeking refuge in China. Their ruler, Hu Hanye, made a choice to secure his power and to save his people from starvation. He pledged loyalty to the Han dynasty, and he proved it by sending his own son to the emperor as a royal hostage. Soon after he traveled to China, he asked to attend the New Year celebrations of the Han court and was welcomed at court. With gifts and terms of peace, he drew the attention of the court and the people. He left with the emperor's gifts. He swore to defend China's borders. In return, he was given grain. 2 years later, he returned. This time, greater honors, richer rewards. A new agreement was made. The two states would no longer go to war. Those who broke the peace would be punished together. From that moment on, Han and Xiongnu became one family, and anyone who broke that bond would be cursed by the heavens. A decade of peace had strengthened the Xiongnu. With border trade restored, Hu Hanye overcame the worst of the crisis and regained the trust of his people. For the Han Empire, marriage was a powerful tool of diplomacy. Princesses were sent to foreign rulers as brides, and songs were written for them, stories were told about them. Hu Hanye had regained his strength. When the Emperor of China changed, he saw an opportunity. 33 BC, the year everything would change. Once again, Hu Hanye returned to the imperial court. Honored with gifts and praise, he asked to seal the peace with a marriage. The emperor accepted, not with a princess, but with a palace maiden. After all, how would the Xiongnu know the difference? A message spread through the palace. Would anyone volunteer to become the wife of the Xiongnu ruler? On one side, China, at the height of its power. On the other, the steppe, the Xiongnu, a life of tents and war. Life in the palace was already harsh, but the fear of the Xiongnu ran deeper. No one stepped forward, except one, Wang Zhaojun. The emperor grew curious. He asked to see her portrait. He looked at it once and accepted the proposal. Only then, something unsettled him. He would not risk an insult. So he gave a final order. Wang Zhaojun would be sent along with 5 other young women. A grand ceremony was held in the Chinese court. The Xiongnu ruler was received with great splendor, honored with gifts. The emperor was about to present the women he had chosen. All eyes were on the ceremony. The moment had come. Wang Zhaojun stepped forward, dressed in magnificent robes. She bowed with grace. All eyes turned to her. The emperor froze. For a moment, he could not look away. He completed the ceremony in quiet astonishment. Afterward, he told her, "You do not have to go." But it was too late. There was no turning back. And when Wang Zhaojun did not change her mind, the emperor accepted it. He declared that year the true year of peace. Yet he could not stop asking himself how he had let her slip away. When he learned the truth, the painter Mao was found and executed. Wang Zhaojun set out on a long journey with the Xiongnu caravan. With her pipa in hand, she played sorrowful melodies along the way. At last, she reached the land that would become her home. She was welcomed with great honor as a woman who would bring peace. Dressed in Xiongnu garments, she was married in a grand ceremony. She shared her knowledge with the Xiongnu ruler, teaching agricultural practices. and the Xiongnu ruler treated her with respect. After years of confinement, she now lived freely on the steppe. She bore him a son, and yet Hu Hanye died just 2 years later. The Xiongnu ruler had 2 grown sons. According to Xiongnu custom, a tradition of the steppe, when a ruler died, his successor married his father's widow. Wang Zhaojun did not accept this. She asked the emperor of China to let her return. But she was no longer just a woman. She had become the symbol of peace between 2 great states. The emperor refused. He told her to follow the customs of the Xiongnu. And so, Wang Zhaojun married the new Xiongnu ruler. She bore him 2 daughters. Among the Xiongnu, only the children of a Xiongnu wife could inherit the throne. Her son could never become ruler. But when he came of age, he was given a place of honor. In China, her story began to spread, told, retold, until it became legend. One story says, as she left China, she played a farewell song on her pipa, and as the melody rose into the sky, wild geese fell from the air. She had given both peoples their greatest gift, a peace that would last nearly half a century. For centuries, she was remembered, a symbol of tragic fate and a bridge between 2 worlds. Her name, her beauty, her story, carved into history. Hundreds of poems, novels, and stories were written about her. Her story lived on. History is not written by men alone. Sometimes, the fate of a single woman can change the course of empires.